Constantine. Hellblazer number 43 is what we're talking about right now.
Number 43.
Mm-hmm. We're talking about it without Tom here.
No Tom.
Nope, we're taking over.
He's banned because he can't spell Satan.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually we had a few comments about that in our last video. The thumbnail says how to con Satan.
Satin?
Or it did until we got a few thankful, helpful commenters such as Mr. Andrew Hibbard. Love your show, guys, but who's Satan? It's a fair question. I had also sent a text message to Tom myself alerting him about this as soon as possible.
I have another story about that, but let me read this one first. Love the show, but Satan equals Lucifer. Satin equals fabric sheets are made of.
Didn't have typos till you came around.
Damn it.
Damn it.
They're going to blame it on me.
What happened in that last issue? Where did we just get off?
Constantine was going to visit a friend, and the friend was potentially going to be like a benefit in that he could maybe help him not have cancer anymore. Turns out that friend's just going to die. And he did. John Constantine makes an enemy out of Satan. That's great. Cut to dream sequence.
Yeah, this new issue starts with a really freaky dream sequence.
Freaky deaky.
A freaky dream.
Freaky dream.
He's kind of just visualizing himself as like a tumor. That's kind of how I interpreted that. He's kind of all strung up and stressing about things that happened in the past and people he knew.
Full body tumor.
It's drawn very well, but it's slimy and gross.
That is the kind of art that I like, so I'm on board with it.
He's got this freaky cancer nightmare that he has. Apparently, he's just passed out for a moment while he's on a bench waiting for a friend of his to show up. He's meeting a friend on the bench at the beach about a month after he's discovered his cancer diagnosis. So they give it a nice little marker in time so you know how long this has been since the start of this whole story.
How much did he have to live? Was it just a couple months?
I can't imagine it was very long.
No.
He's talking about how he's coughing up blood and he's nauseous and dizzy and seems like things are progressing pretty quickly.
Getting worse, for sure.
Yeah. He's sitting there waiting, and he meets this friend of his. Sounds like they're acquainted already, but her name is Ellie. And she is some kind of demon succubus type person.
It seems like he reached out to her, as he's been doing, friend to friend, always trying to find someone.
I imagine you'd go through a little bit of that, too, with the cancer diagnosis. You're probably flipping through your old contacts and touching base.
Not dead.
Yeah.
Not dead.
Who do I want to reach out to while there's still time?
Makes sense.
She's also a denizen of hell, so she's got some insight that he takes advantage of. She tells him how Satan's doing after drinking some holy water and taking a bottle to the face.
Not loving it.
No, he's sitting there like counting down the minutes till Constantine shows up, and he can have his way with his soul for all eternity.
They go over some options. They go over some ideas. She's like, hey, maybe talk to Swamp Thing.
Maybe he'll cure your cancer.
He's like, no, Swamp Thing won't talk to me. Okay.
Sounds about right.
What about the Snob?
The Snob. It's a lovely name for a person to have.
He obviously doesn't want to talk to the Snob.
No, he puts up a lot of resistance about that, but eventually they kind of decide that there's really nobody else.
Right. It's clear that Ellie's not able to help him. He's going to have to talk to somebody else.
Par for the course for him.
Cut to Cancer Ward.
Yeah.
Checking in on Matt.
I think this might be my favorite sequence of the issue.
Oh, tell me about that.
The cancer stuff. When he's at the hospital. First of all, I love how the panels are all washed out. There's no color to speak of.
True.
It feels fluorescent. It feels like a hospital room. The whole thing just gives you this slimy kind of medical feeling, which I loved. And the conversation's pretty cool, too.
Makes you feel icky like you do when you're at a hospital, for sure.
Yes, it's unfortunate.
What did you like about the conversation?
The nature of it all, how they talk about what you did when you first discovered that you had this diagnosis, and how Matt tells him this story about how the doctor told him, you got to stop smoking, you got to stop drinking right away, and cut those two out right now. And Matt's like, well, screw this. Like, if I'm going to die, then I'm going to die. So he just goes out and gets wasted and drunk. And his plan is to kind of go out in a blaze of glory, but that just kind of sends him into the hospital a little quicker.
Since he spent like a couple years going for it, and
yeah, it's kind of sad.
I feel like they show a lot of similarities between John and this person, and then also like polarizing differences. This guy went a different route than what John did. In fact, John talks about how he would do anything to live longer, which, you know, I was actually talking to someone about this recently, but it's kind of like a smoker's attitude. Like when I used to smoke, there was like definitely an attitude of, like recklessness, or I don't really care what's going to happen to me, because I just didn't have like that longevity vision of my life. Like definitely was
just that fuck it kind of mindset.
And that's like a smoker attitude.
Apparently.
I really feel like that is what keeps people smoking more than the habit. That people talk about the habit, they talk about a lot of things, but there's definitely like an attitude about it. And it, even for me, like that's what it took. It took my attitude to change about like life and like the value of it. And I want to live forever now. So I went from like being April Ludgate
right.
to being like Chris. Like,
gotcha.
I'm like,
okay.
I'm going to live forever. Exercise, eat healthy, no smoking.
Good old Chris Traeger.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm Chris Traeger for sure now. So it definitely takes something like that. Or maybe something on the other side, like you're dying of cancer.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
That too.
He's definitely expressing that attitude of like, oh my God, I want to live. Weird.
It seems like he's having that moment you're talking about.
It's like he never thought about living until this. Like he didn't really think about how important that was to him to be alive until there was a risk of that not really.
You know you might lose it.
That's
how it works, unfortunately.
I think that realization comes out from him. But the cancer ward patient doesn't have as big of an expression of that ideology. He mentions that if he was younger, he might feel that way, but definitely not now.
Yeah, he's a normal dude. He's not like a witch or a demon or anything. So his insight that he can provide to Constantine is kind of limited.
Yeah.
So he's talking to him more on just a personal human level.
Yeah.
But he doesn't spend long there. Just a couple of pages, and then he's immediately on his way to see Mr. Snob.
Mr. Snob.
That they were talking about before, who eventually we learn has an actual name. His name is not the Snob.
It's Gabriel.
It's Gabriel.
He's an angel.
So he goes to talk to a demon, a normal human being, and then an angel. All right, so Constantine like Jedi mind tricks this bouncer at the door and gets his way into this like country club where the Snob is having a snobby sort of party with a bunch of suit and tie type people. Constantine sees this guy talking to Charlie over by the fireplace. The Snob, Charlie. Charlie happens to be a Nazi, a neo-Nazi who has some very questionable social connections that he's using to kind of climb the ranks. Mm-hmm. Constantine makes a mental note of this. Then he goes over and talks to the Snob after Charlie gets out of there.
They start talking. You know, he's like, I know why you're here. You're here because you have cancer. Everyone knows that you have cancer, John Constantine. He's like, yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Why are you even talking to me? I'm an angel. You should go talk to this demon lady.
The succubi demons.
Yeah, the person that he's already been talking to. Like, he doesn't offer him much, unfortunately. He gets in kind of an argument with Gabriel here, the Snob.
They argue a lot about just the angels and how angels and demons have created this good and evil without really understanding humanity in and of itself, or how complicated it is to be a person. Gabriel
tells him, like, you've sinned too much for me to help you. Like, you've done too many bad things in your life.
Yeah.
To be saved in the religious sense.
Yeah, you ignore the 10 Commandments.
Yeah,
you loser.
You've been smoking all day.
Yeah.
Like, that's bad. You can't do those
Can't
things.
Smoke. That's how you go to hell.
And Constantine kind of flips out. Like, what about all the good stuff I've done in my life? Like, doesn't that count for anything? And, you know, he's just like, oh, no, not really.
There's not really, like, a right to offset here.
Yeah, and that's when he gives him that speech about the scales. And, you know, that's not how it works in the real world.
Yeah.
Just because you did 10 bad things and 9 good things doesn't mean that, oh, you did too many bad things and now you're screwed.
And if even, I think the argument that Constantine's making is even if it is, like, that's not the way it should be.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's, how are you out there just arguing black and white?
So he gets frustrated and just kind of storms out of there and ends up in a bar, kind of wasting away his day, his life, drowning his sorrows.
Yeah, I think John Constantine's been there before. I think he's been in the...
He's probably been to that bar before.
That's an ending of many John Constantine issues or Hellblazer issues where he's just like, well...
Screw it, I'm going to get drunk.
Yeah. You know what? It sounds like he's got some really good ideas when he's drunk, because I think in the end of this, I think this whole issue is about John Constantine really realizing that he can't call on his friends for anything. I mean, it's not even an I think, like, it's definitely what this issue's about. He's reached out to friends who are now dead just because of him reaching out to them. He's reached out to several people, and none of them have been able to help him for various reasons, being either that they're either on the good side or the bad side, right? He's on the wrong, no matter what, he's not really on either the good or the bad side, so he can't get away with siding either way.
He kind of just comes to the realization that he's got to take care of it himself.
Definitely.
And he's got to stop relying on other people.
Well, and I think in the end, he says, you know, something like, no matter what, I'm going to die. Whether I die now of cancer, I'm going to die eventually of something.
Right.
And Lucifer's waiting for me. Satan's waiting for me. So what am I going to do about that? He has to fix so much more than his cancer. And I think he's realizing that through this sequence. And by reaching out to all these people who are unable to help him, he's understanding that nobody can help him but himself anyways.
So, you know, when Constantine went to that party to meet the snob, and it was way, way, way fancy, and he just strolls up and Jedi mind tricks the guy wearing his trench coat, and he's all covered in rain and dirt and shit. It got me thinking about, all the times I can remember being out in public in social situations, not feeling it. Very awkward, very uncomfortable, either because I was underdressed like that or in a completely different class of people than I'm used to being around. It got me thinking. Like, I kind of want to hear some stories from people in the comments. Like, when have you been in that situation where you were just completely out of your element and just totally socially almost ostracized?
Caught off guard, underdressed. I want to hear the story.
Oh, yeah. Please tell us your stories. And while you're down there, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe button. Maybe turn the bell on, get notified when we post things. Do all of those things.
And as always,
geek responsibly.
enough.
Sid. Hi. We're growing pretty darn quick, and I love it. I think you guys are awesome. We are over halfway done now with our breakdown of dangerous habits. We need ideas. What are we doing next? Chime in and let us know. Thank you, guys. Stay tuned.